Western Conference. It's like 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah.
It's a great deal. That's why we have 2 crowns.
That's exactly right.
I'm excited about this.
So we are down to 4 teams. At this point in the playoffs, depth matters to a degree. What did Riley say? You play 8, trust 7, and something like believe in 6. Like at this point, do you have 7 guys on your team that you're comfortable playing? All of these teams at this point have at least 7. 1 or 2 of them might have 8. We'll see the names on King of the Hill. Here is the Eastern Conference edition. Bottom row, and a guy who I wanted to find a spot for higher, but I just couldn't, Mitchell Robinson. If he goes to the granny-style free throws, maybe he can move up the hill.
I don't think that's happening.
Right. I don't think it's happening either. Ben Mathurin, who I could see getting into a scuffle with Mitchell Robinson. That would be fun. TJ McConnell, who is just going to guard Jalen Brunson 94 feet just to be a pain in the butt, which is smart. Deuce McBride, who is going to hit a big shot in the 4th quarter of one of the first 2 games. I guarantee it. Wow. And then Obi Toppin is a tough one for Knicks fans. By Knicks fans, I mean our producer Ramsey, who loved Obi Toppin more than I think he loves some family members. And now he's going to have to root against him. All right, 4th row. A guy that is one of the key players in this series, OG Anunoby. I thought he was, I think it's fair to say, underwhelming in the Celtics series, and I think he needs to be a little better in this series, and we know he can be. That Nembhard, who is, I think, one of the more underrated players in the league, like a guy that is never discussed and I'm not acting like he's an all-star, but he is a very valuable piece to the Pacers, who are now, just like the Timberwolves, in their 2nd straight conference finals, and also kind of in a surprising fashion. Aaron Nesmith, who's very good, and Josh Hart, the ultimate glue guy, who is, much like Draymond Green, good for a lot of triple singles, but a lot of impactful triple singles. To the 3rd row. These guys all either have been or will be all-stars at some point, probably because they're in the East. But in the West, probably not all-stars, but in the East, you can see it. Pascal Siakam, who I think has been the 2nd best player on the Pacers all year, and for a time was their best player this year. Mikal Bridges, who is, I think, the Knicks' X factor in this series, and Miles Turner, who is going to have to match Cat scoring in this series, I think, if the Pacers are going to be able to win the series. Then we get to the 2nd row, Tyrese Haliburton. And by the way, should the NBA revisit John's banishment for the postseason now that his son is back in?
100%.
I feel like it is. I feel like when they did that, they didn't think that they were gonna make the conference finals. They're like, okay, it's like a 2-week punishment. Now it's been a month.
Well, it was indefinite.
Indefinite. So I feel like maybe I also think we could get an awesome moment between John Haliburton and Timothy Chalamet at one of these games.
Although in New York, they might
maybe just home games.
No,
maybe just home games.
Don't bring
Karl-Anthony Towns, and then obviously at the top of the hill, someone who, I don't know, man, forget club superstar, which he's already in, but is forcing some conversations of like, all right, so wait, where is Jalen Brunson in the best players in the league conversation? Like, where is he in going into next season? Going into next season, is he the best player in the Eastern Conference if Giannis gets traded? Like, I think so.
Make an argument if he wins Finals MVP.
I'm saying even if he doesn't.
Tatum's out.
I mean, if Tatum's out,
Tatum's better.
And Giannis is traded, is he just the best player in the Eastern Conference? I think he's better than Haliburton.
Donovan.
I think he's better than Donovan.
Well, he deserves it.
His playoff stuff is better than Donovan.
And Donovan's a really good playoff player, but he's just never been past round 2. So there is the Eastern Conference King of the Hill, Brew.
I'm going.
Oh, Wildes.
We're focusing on the top. Both of these teams can probably lay claim to the underrated title. Here's the numbers on Brunson and Haliburton. Brew, what are the chances that Tyrese outplays Jalen?
Well, obviously he's not going to outscore him. I mean, they're 2 different style of players. That's what Jalen does. But everything else, as you showed from that graphic, assist, that's what Haliburton does. He's one of the best assist guys in the league. He can be just as clutch as Jalen. He obviously out-rebounds him. He's much bigger. And he just has to play his role as well or better than Jalen plays his. Now, Haliburton's problem, because I really like him a lot. I think he's on the cusp. I think he will be a superstar. I wouldn't necessarily put him there yet, but he's on the cusp.
Superstar?
I think he's phenomenal because his shot is awkward, but it's effective. He shoots well from three. He can score 20 plus a game. And again, he's one of the best passers in the league. And he's got attitude, moxie, all that. So here's where they were last year, he and Brunson. Indiana beat them in 7. I get it, the Knicks were banged up. But last year, you could argue he outplayed Brunson. I mean, the assist difference isn't what it should be with their styles. But look at the efficiency. So what Haliburton has to do is just be efficient, maybe more efficient than Jalen. And then in the clutch, we all know Jalen, and I voted for him. Rightly, he was the clutch player of the year. Even though Nick tried to give it to LeBron, it was Jalen, all right? But look at Haliburton in the clutch.
This is an insane
10 of 11, Nick said it, that would be a good free throw shooting in that situation in the clutch. So he is a clutch guy. I think he'll have a moment, but he's got to be more consistent. Against Cleveland, he was up and down a little bit. They had other guys that picked up the slack. I don't know if that's going to happen against the Knicks. So I need him to be good like 6 of the 7 games, if not all 7, or however many they play.
What am I going to say about this Haliburton stat? Do you know?
regression to the mean.
Too good.
Too
good. I feel like
91%.
But that's not a small sample size.
I understand.
It's not Brunson,
but it's too good.
30.
It feels like we're due for some misses there in clutch time.
We were due when he hit that step back 3 against Cleveland.
No, that's
because he missed the free throw.
But look, you are making a good point, Nick, in that I didn't vote Haliburton in my top 3. You get 3 votes for Clutch Player of the Year. I considered him in the 3rd spot. The reason I didn't go there because they didn't have he didn't have nearly as many experiences in the clutch as Brunson and some other players.
So what I think is going to be really interesting about this series is, are the Pacers able to just wear the Knicks down by the end of it? Because they play such a frenetic pace. And they don't follow any of the old playoff adages, the game slows down. Not if it's up to them.
Right.
And can they, if it were to get to a game 6, much less a game 7, like it did against the Knicks last year, are the Knicks worn out? Now, the Knicks last year were all injured by the end of it, so it's not really a fair sample.
But they don't go very deep.
Right. They have 7 guys, as you saw. Those 7 guys for the Knicks that made the Hill might be the only 7 guys in this series for them that play more than a total of 10 minutes. If we just remove it, garbage.
They'll try. They'll give Cam. I think he'll get a chance. We'll see. Is he hot tonight?
You never know.
No, he can heat up.
He had the one Pistons game.
Yeah. They saved him.
Yeah.
We're going to the West now.
Western Conference.
Western Hill.
These are the 2 deeper teams, and we go to the 5th row and you see it. Hartenstein, one of the best offseason additions, obviously former Knick. Mike Conley, the most experienced member of either of these 2 teams in the Western Conference Finals. Dante, who honestly has been disappointing this postseason. He's given you 8 points a game this postseason. I actually think that could be a good sign for Minnesota that he's due to play better. Yeah. Cason Wallace and Aaron Wiggins, just 2 of the guys who it's like, wait, who's that guy that just came off the Thunder bench that had 2 steals in 45 seconds? It'll be one of those 2 guys. Now to the 4th row and names you all know. Jaden McDaniels, who I think America was introduced to him by Anthony Edwards before last playoffs when he said, they have Kevin Durant, but we have Jaden McDaniels. And you know what?
He put it on.
Prophetic by Anthony Edwards. Another huge offseason addition for the Thunder in Alex Caruso. Sam Presti at times, I think, has gotten a little too much media praise for, look at all their draft picks they have.
He's great.
But now, he deployed them smartly and had the right cap space. The Hartenstein-Caruso additions to this team, I think it is very fair to say they are not anywhere close to where they are right now without those 2 savvy additions. Naz Reid, who I think can play a lot better, than he's played up to this point in the postseason. And Lou Dort, who is another one of the Thunder that's not a box score guy, and I think he'll be guarding Anthony Edwards a lot in this series. And then we get to the third row. J-Dub, that Jalen Williams. You'll notice the other Jalen Williams didn't even make the hill for the Thunder. He could have made an argument over Wallace and Wiggins. J-Dub, their second best player. Rudy Gobert, who is going to be so important if he can bother Shea on his drives to the basket. We know Rudy can defend without fouling. How much can he bother Shea? And then Chet, who is going to have his hands full with this guy on row 2 in Julius Randle. So I think we saw Julius Randle, we can move up to row 2. We saw Julius Randle take on LeBron James and go right through his chest when he could, then take on Draymond Green and go right through his chest when he could. What does that mean for Chet Holmgren's chest? I'm not optimistic about it. And then Anthony Edwards, who is going to have the best playoff series of his life, because the guy who's been the league MVP, guy who's averaging 30 a game this postseason after averaging 30 a game last postseason, is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he is atop the Western Conference playoff hill.
All right, Brew, question for you. Ant versus SGA, here are their numbers for the playoffs. Who would you rather have this series?
Well, look, I think SGA is the better player. Like, I as much as I like Ant, I just don't think right now there's really an argument to say Ant is better. SGA is more consistent. That's the thing. Like Ant, you won't be shocked if he has a 17-point game. Right. You know, you kind of be surprised at that with SGA. But for this series, I would rather have Ant. One, I do love his spirit and his energy more. I think that can be important in this. And he's only slightly below SGA. I also think SGA certainly was great against Denver. Average, 36-6, I think, on 52% shooting. But against Memphis, which obviously isn't that great of a team, but they got some more better defenders, a little athletic right on the perimeter, can bother him a little more. He only shot 40%. That's Minnesota times 8. Like Minnesota, Jaden McDaniels, Ant Edwards, like they got his cousin, Nickeil, Alexander Walker, like that's Shai's cousin. Grew up with him. He's gonna get some time on it. Like I think they're gonna give Shai a lot more resistance. Denver had Jamal Murray isn't a great defender, right? They had no Russ at this point, athletic guys that can really bother him a little. And so I think it's gonna be a much different series for Shai. So in this series, I would take Ant, even though I do think SGA is a better player.
So that speaks to two things. One is the depth of these two teams. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker didn't make the hill. And I mentioned earlier, Jalen Williams, the other Jalen Williams, the kind of third-string center for the Thunder, who was important. He didn't make the hill either. I think that the Warriors were a really good ramp-up for Anthony Edwards as far as the defense he's going to face. That Warriors team was the best defense in the league once they got Jimmy. Obviously, they were a different team on offense without Steph, but they still were a great defensive team, and Ant had to work his way through it. Denver was a mediocre to bad defense all year, and they didn't have anybody who really could match up against Shai. So I think that for the first time, in the last few weeks, Ant's been dealing with tough defenses. Shai, and I'm not taking anything away from him, it's just going to be a bit of a culture shock's wrong. You know what I mean? Shock to the system going up against the Timberwolves defense, their length, their depth. And that's the other thing that I'm really interested in this is the Thunder. It didn't always play out this way, but they were the fresher team in the fourth quarters of that series against Denver because Denver was playing 5.5 players. The Timberwolves early in the series are going to play 9 guys. And 8 guys, you know what I mean, they are totally fine giving big minutes to. And so what will it mean for the Thunder on both sides of the ball in the fourth quarter, when instead of going against Murray and Jokic, who are playing minutes 42, 43, 44, they might be playing guys who are playing minutes 35, 36, right. 37, like Shea has been, like Jalen Williams has been. I think that's an important wrinkle.
A couple other keys. One, and during the regular season, they double teamed him. OKC, with that defense swarming, double teamed him. He even said he really didn't know what to do. He's gotten used to playing now against these tough defenses in the playoffs in the second half of the season. And remember, Randall missed 3 of those games. So is OKC going to try to double him like that? That allows Randall to go berserk. So Randall is a key. He has to continue to play great. He's been 24-6-6 in this postseason. So if he can keep that up, I think Minnesota will win. And then on the other side, Nick, the turnovers. That's OKC forces more than anybody. And Minnesota, like the 2 losses this regular season, Minnesota had a ton of turnovers. The 2 wins, they really cut it down. So if they're turning the ball over and OKC gets out and running, they're going to win the series. If they can be, more careful with the ball and not get loosey-goosey with it, they should be able to.
And as far as the double teaming goes, Ant has, I think, nearly as many or the exact same amount of 8+ assist games this postseason as he had this regular season.
He's gotten much better.
So I think he had 6 total in the regular season, and he has 5 or 6 total this postseason. He's just been a more willing passer, so that could be something that Oklahoma City hasn't had to deal with as much when they've played him. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.